Well, we appreciate you, Eddie.
Absolutely.
One more time. I'm sorry. Say your name. We're a little slower in the South. Welcome to the SEC.
Thank you. Eddie Radosevich.
Radosevich from Sooner Scoop on
yes, sir.
3.
Yes, sir.
Really appreciate you.
Yeah.
And I was joking. I mean, it's not a joke. It's true. Sooner fans saying, hey, we need some Oklahoma coverage on the show. Get Eddie on the show. So
I'll try.
We appreciate you stopping by, man.
Absolutely.
How's the SEC treating you so far?
Pretty good. It still feels weird. I mean, I think that it really doesn't feel like it's real just because there is still another season to be played in the Big 12. But, I think that you talk to any Oklahoma fan, they feel like the passion, the fervor for college football is at an all-time high, obviously, in Oklahoma, and it kind of matches up with the fan bases of the SEC. So there's a lot of excitement, and obviously there's a lot of questions for Oklahoma as they go into the second year of Brent Venables.
Well, they did unveil, 2024 people that were going to be playing. I mean,
absolutely.
What was a common reaction from Oklahoma fans? Because I thought brutal at first. They didn't go easy on you.
Yeah, no, I think there was like a, wow, this is cool. Alabama's coming to Norman. Oh, God, they're going to LSU, and they're going to Oxford, and they're going to Auburn. It's obviously a tough schedule, and I think that, entering what is a pivotal year for Brent Venables in year number 2, that they got to be able to build some type of momentum going into the season, going into 2024, and everything that's going to come with the SEC, because it is a step up. I think that's probably one of the biggest things that has come across to me here is just the fact that you start talking about, obviously in the West, for instance, Alabama and LSU are obviously very, very good, and then you have 3 through 7 that are all really, really good football teams. And there is, I hate to just throw shots at people, but there is no Kansas, even though they took a step in Lance Leipold's first year. So it's going to be kind of exciting, but I think there's a lot of people that are, cautiously optimistic about how this whole thing's going to go.
Yeah.
Now, be honest here. In this conference, everyone's pissed off at Georgia right now.
Sure.
Because they don't have to play that Oklahoma game.
Sure.
And it made the schedule weak as hell. It was already kind of weak, but now it's weak as hell.
Yeah.
Oklahoma people, they're probably thankful as they can. They don't have to play that damn juggernaut in Athens, right?
There is definitely a sigh of relief, although it would have been really, really cool to see those two teams on the field. And just, with the game that they last played out in the Rose Bowl, that was awesome.
Yeah. Wasn't that the first meeting of the two?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the first time they had ever played, which is absolutely insane.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I mean, I think that for Oklahoma and how big this year is for them, getting Georgia off the schedule and even replacing them with an SMU, which should be better. It'll be a good non-conference game for them. It worked out in Oklahoma's favor that they don't have to play that game this year. No doubt about it.
Yeah.
Well, when you guys do come over, are you bringing Venables with you?
Yeah, I think that'll be the plan.
We're going to talk hot seat
every
year.
We're putting him on the hot seat for he comes over here.
Well, you talk to enough Oklahoma fans around Oklahoma City or down in Norman, and it was a year that people just weren't used to, going 6-7. The way that they lost games in the fourth quarter, the 5 of the 7 losses were one-score games. 4 of the last 5 games they lost on the last possession of the game. So I think that was and it was small things too. It was a penalty, or it was a game mismanagement, or not being able to move the ball in the fourth quarter or get off the field in the fourth quarter without giving up a touchdown.
Yeah.
I think that was the biggest thing, and that was one of the things that I think a lot of people, when Brent took over, was all the small things are going to be taken care of. Well, they weren't in year 1,
right.
And I think that pissed a lot of people off. And they obviously are going to have to go through a little bit of a turnover from Lincoln to Brent, and there were some depth issues that Oklahoma had. But they've kind of started to, I think, answer those questions. Now it's about going out there and actually doing it 12 Saturdays of fall.
Well, aside from Oklahoma fans, I'll tell you who's most rooting for Brent Venables and company, and that's Tennessee fans. We're Tennessee homers.
Okay.
We were supposed to be objective, but we tell the truth. We were Tennessee guys. Can you shed some light for our Tennessee fans on the relationship Josh Heupel and Oklahoma? Because I know it's icy.
Yeah.
And
which is sad.
Right. But, I mean, would he even be a candidate? And it sounds like he wouldn't be, but you would know a lot better than me.
I think Josh would take himself out of being a candidate, just because I think that even, in everything that's going into tomorrow when Josh is here, it doesn't sound like he's going to answer any Oklahoma questions. I know that he's been kind of outspoken on not talking about it. Just the way that ended in 2014, it was awkward. And, I mean, Bob Stoops to this day will say that he didn't fire him. He got fired. He got fired because the offense had kind of stalled in 13 and stalled in 14. And, it was rough to watch, and especially for somebody that grew up in Oklahoma that in 99, 2000, Josh Heupel was a god over there, and he still is to a lot of people. But because of the way that went down and the bridge that was burned, and it seems like it's never going to be rebuilt, it's kind of sad. You would hope that at some point, and they brought back the 2000 team not too long ago to celebrate the national championship, and he wasn't a part of it. And, I think that is kind of sad just in the fact that he was such a big player in that, obviously. And it's just it's been awkward the way that whole thing is kind of boiled down. But I think at the same time, and I'd love to hear what Josh would say to this, and hopefully he'll talk about it tomorrow. It's like he needed that. I think he needed to get out of there and kind of reinvent himself, look in the mirror, do some things differently. And it's obviously turned out really well for him. I know that, I would imagine that you guys are pretty happy with what he's done in Knoxville. It's been a lot of fun to watch. And, Joey Hosley, the offense coordinator out there, isn't he the offense coordinator? Did he just get promoted? Quarterbacks coach?
Yeah, he is now. He was quarterbacks coach. Now he's OC.
Awesome. I was in school with Joe at the same time. Had friends on the football team. And I couldn't be more happy for the success that a bunch of those guys have had with that kind of that umbrella that Josh had in Norman and kind of took it with him.
Well, I can teach you a new term real quick. Battered Vol syndrome. And that is, we're just always looking for the dark clouds are coming. And that's where that comes from. So.
Oklahoma fans aren't used to that. And I think that's what they were so, petrified of a year ago was, the one thing that everybody, and probably Oklahoma fans are most familiar with is, are they becoming the next Nebraska? Yeah. Right. Are they going to make this conference change? And then are they going to end up how Nebraska's ended up in the Big Ten? And, I guess we'll see. They have a lot of more probably pieces in place than Nebraska had, though.
One of the games that me and Mike are really looking forward to is Texas, Oklahoma. This is a rivalry we did not really appreciate until late.
Sure.
But we've talked to a lot of Texas guys. We've talked to a lot of Texas A&M guys. Billy says, and I don't want to quote him here, but I'm going to quote him, that you think Alabama's wild.
Yeah.
You wait till you see the toxic fans coming from Texas. So can you tell our listeners why we're not going to like the Texas fans?
There's a sense of arrogance that's always been a part of the Texas football program, but you kind of appreciate that. I think Billy would probably call them sips. That's probably the best way to say it. It's a love-hate relationship. I got a bunch of buddies that went to Texas, so the OU Texas experience down at the State Fair at the Cotton Bowl, first weekend of October, though, it's truly one of the – if you love college football, if you love the pageantry of it, go get down there. The game, it's kind of become an 11 a.m. staple now. You got to get down there at 7:30 in the morning, have a wax cup beer, and watch the pageantry that is. Everybody comes. They take the buses through the middle of the fair. It's unbelievable.
Do the fair? I'm trying to. So is the fair all week or?
Yeah, the fair runs for 2.5 weeks, 3 weeks, I think, in Dallas. And you start seeing it that time of the year, end of September, beginning of October. You start seeing buddies that live in Dallas taking their kids and stuff out there and grabbing all those coupons that you can get in anticipation of OU Texas. So it's truly, there's nothing like it.
Right.
I hope it stays at the Cotton Bowl forever at the State Fair Park, even though it's not the nicest stadium in the entire world.
Yeah.
There truly is no, maybe Army, Navy, something like that. From a neutral standpoint, if you're just a college football fan, you got to go. It's awesome.
Yeah. And we've all had our list come out when this expansion's coming out. Is there any Oklahoma games you're really looking forward to?
I've never been to the Grove,
so
I think that's probably number one, just to see it.
Yeah.
Won't get to participate a whole lot in it, but because we'll be covering the games. But the Grove is up there. Between the Hedges would be really cool just to go. I think the Swamp will be cool.
Yeah.
And for that matter, I think even a place like Vanderbilt. I mean, not maybe necessarily the stadium, but getting to new places, going to Nashville, being able to do that kind of stuff. It's just it's different than anything that we've been a part of over the last 10 years since I've been covering Oklahoma. So, I found myself having a little bit of a soft spot for Morgantown.
Yeah.
It's just unique. It's way out there. It's kind of off the beaten Big 12 track, if you will. But, I think everybody's pretty excited for the SEC.
Cool. Well, when the SEC adds them,
and I would say Knoxville, but I've been there. So, hey, I don't want to make anybody too mad.
So how bad do you hate Heupel?
And that's the thing. Is like I grew up. I was in the 8th grade when they won the national championship. Would have died for that team.
Yeah.
That was the peak of college football fandom for me. Watching those guys and how downtrodden the program was in the mid '90s growing up. My parents were season ticket holders, went to all the games, and it's kind of crazy. And I think Oklahoma fans are a little spoiled as well. I mean, it is what it is, especially 17, 18, 19 offensively.
From our vantage point, it seemed like the reaction, though, from Oklahoma fans was a little mixed.
Yeah.
I think because they dominated the Big 12.
Sure.
The path to the playoff is a lot clearer in that conference.
Yeah.
Have they mostly come around to joining the SEC? Where's that at?
I think so. I think that the majority of the fan base is ready to make the move. I think they're excited about making the move, but you're going to have people that want to stay in the Big 12, and you can win it every year. And I think it's more of a comfort thing. You know what you're getting, and that's kind of like what we were talking about earlier, as far as you got to know everything about Kentucky. You got to know everything about whoever is the down team. Not to say Kentucky is by any means, but you don't have that Kansas. You don't have that kind of breather that you maybe get with an Iowa State. And I think that is kind of the heightened alert type situation for Oklahoma fans. And, they're going to just have to get used to it because there's no turning back now.
When you started hearing the rumors, because when I started hearing the rumors Texas and Oklahoma maybe join the SEC, I said there's no way in hell. There's no way in hell that's going to happen. Do you remember some of those early conversations and it just kind of spiraling into this next chapter?
Sure. I think it kind of went from a stage of I don't want to hear about it. The conference expansion stuff, it kind of reached a height where it was like, God, not this again. It's June. There's nothing to talk about. Obviously, we're going to have to talk about it. But then you started hearing some stuff, and it kind of built a little bit of excitement. It was like, I don't want to get my hopes up. And then obviously with the Brent Zwerneman story that came out, it was like, it was also one of those like scrolling through Twitter like, is this real? And then you start checking and it's like, yeah, this looks very, very real. Yeah. So it was, it almost seems like it's been 5 years ago now, even though it's only been a couple years. And I think that, the plan that's in place for Oklahoma and Brent's vision of what he wants the program to be, they had to build out of what that was, what Lincoln left. And not to say that he left a terrible program by any means, but depth-wise, they didn't have what you need defensively. And, I think through the transfer portal this year, they've been able to go get some guys that could come in and contribute from day one.
Well, I'm just looking forward to all this newness like you're talking about, but we'll be getting Oklahoma and Arkansas, Mizzou again, LSU. I mean, I think those rivalries will form fairly quickly.
Sure.
And we're optimistic, guys. The way we've been selling this new SEC, I think every player in the transfer portal and the elite prospects, hell, they already all want to come to the SEC. Sure. With Texas and Oklahoma coming, I mean, I don't think those schools will ever lose a recruiting battle to anyone in the Pac-12, Big Ten, none of that. So I think it's rising water will elevates all the programs, and I think they will with the Sooners as well.
Sure, and I think that like even with coming off the 6th and 7th season a year ago, for Oklahoma to finish with a top 5 recruiting class and still go out and be able to get some guys in the transfer portal, I think kind of proves that people do obviously want to go play in the SEC. It's really strange even still now talking to high school kids that are going in to their senior seasons and they're committing to Oklahoma and they're going to play in the SEC. That's all they'll know is the SEC. They won't know anything about the Big 12. So, I think it's going to inflate everything. Obviously, wins and losses are going to be all that matters at the end of the day for Brent and, kind of that regime and how everything's going down. But, it's going to be a lot of fun. And I think that just being around stuff like this even for the media side of things, it's like, okay, this is getting pretty real.
Well, and they announced media going to be down there in Dallas, which ironically is where the Big 12's been meeting, just down the street there at the Omni Hotel. So I would imagine a huge blowout next year for the SEC, getting you guys back in the league. We're pumped up to I don't want to cut it short here, Mike, but where can we follow you if you're looking for Oklahoma news?
Soonerscoop.com on 3. We just made the move over there a couple months ago, and it's been unbelievable to kind of be with like-minded people that all we do is cover college football. And, obviously little college basketball here and there, Porter Moser, and baseball and softball, obviously. But I'm excited about those other sports getting to the SEC, and obviously football is going to be anything that we want to talk about, and everything that everybody wants to talk about in Norman. But those smaller sports, the minor sports, are going to be fun too.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, man.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
anytime, guys.
Thank you so much.
You bet.